I'm almost embarrassed to share this, but here we are. For some time now, there have been certain creators I have followed and continue to follow that when their content would pop up or I'd get a notification telling me that their latest and greatest has been uploaded, I would immediately go out of my way to not watch it. Now you may say, Paul, my man, why would you then bother following others if you're just going to avoid them? And that's a damn fine question, and one that I used to ask myself. And deep down, I knew the answer already, but I didn't want to acknowledge it. But I'm going to answer here and now because I think this may help you if you're feeling a certain way towards other content creators, which is really about feeling a certain way about yourself. But we're going to unpack this very soon. It'll all make sense, I promise. And just in case this is your first time landing onto this side of the YouTube algorithm time-space continuum, time-space, welcome. My name is Paul Silva, and this is the Creative Alchemist. Help yourself to biscotti and espresso. It's in the foyer by the fireplace and the vegan shag rug. So back to the question. Why was I avoiding certain content creators I really liked and admired? Spoiler alert, it wasn't because they were bad. In fact, it was the opposite. I avoided them because they were and are so very good. I'm going to share my experience with this and the different levels it hit and how I worked through them so that if you're feeling similar towards others, this may give you maybe some insight and hopefully a way to work through it as well. So stay with me here. When I started to watch people like Carlos Martinez on Bokeh Bushido or Casey on Camera Conspiracies, Alex Kilby on The Photographic Eye, and Jimmy West on his photography channel, etc., which, by the way, I have tagged all of them, so check them out. They're awesome. Anyway, I found myself drawn to them, but also heavily resisting. You know, it's like when you flip the polarity on a magnet, where once you were being pulled strongly towards, after you flip it, you're now unable to connect because of that invisible but powerful force that I would call, at least for me, was resistance. And oh, that resistance was thick and rich enough to drizzle over waffles. That resistance, I felt, was disguised as envy. Creative envy, if you will. I would open up on social media or YouTube and watch artists and performers and musicians and craftspeople, etc., doing their things and just absolutely marvel at their skill, talent, dedication, perspiration, execution. And at the same time, I would also tear up because it would excavate something within. Yes, I was moved by the emotion, the artistry, the beauty or athleticism or the message that that person was conveying. But there was something else that brought me to tears. And I never really fully understood why I felt this way. But as I started to kind of unwrap this, something big stirred up within me. There was something in me that wasn't ready to meet these amazing content creators where they were. Because I realized that there was a part of me that was afraid to stand up and meet myself. So for example, I had the hardest time watching Bokeh Bushido. I would see that he came up with a video, I would click it, watch maybe 30 seconds, and then turn it off. Like my stomach would churn. I feel a certain way. And again, not because he's terrible, not at all. In fact, he's fantastic. Because that's the thing, I admire him so very much, but I was so uncomfortable. It felt sticky. You see, because he talks about creativity in a powerful, poetic, grounded, charismatic, and clear way. He does what I wish I could do. And I felt a sort of envy in there. And in doing so, I was also comparing myself to him and others, which we know does nobody any good. And that envy can show up in many ways. So let me know if any of these sound familiar. You scroll and see something that makes your jaw drop. But then you step into the space of, I could never do that. which then sometimes triggers shame and the notion of, why do I even bother? They've nailed it, so there's no point in me even doing it. Or you see someone younger than you like crushing it, or someone who just started and is already growing fast. And that can trigger the I missed my shot wound. Like I'm too old, I'm too late, all those things come up. Or you see someone being vulnerable or being bold, dancing in public, taking big risks, taking big space. And they're being their beautiful and weird selves. And you think, oh, I wish I could be that brave. And you berate yourself for being weak or playing it too safe. Or lastly, you get into this hyper-curated inferiority complex where you're comparing their highlight reel to your editing room floor. You see their polished work and then look down and see your janky behind the scenes and unfairly declare that you suck. So what's really going on here? For me, and this is particular to me, it ties into a bullying wound of mine that still holds sway on me in some ways to this day. You know, when I was younger, I was harmed and ridiculed for being myself. So I learned that being myself equaled pain. So there's a part of me that wants to stand up and be seen, but the other part of me wants to be safe. And watching other content creators I connect with hold up a mirror to that part of me that's still hiding. And that's the discomfort, because I know deep down that I am worthy and capable, but I'm asked tough questions like, what part of me wants permission to exist? What's being stirred up in me? And how can I find that next level of authenticity and confidence? You know, the kinds of questions that require strong constitution and stronger coffee. So, what has helped me move past this threshold? First, I give myself grace like a mofo. Just be kind to yourself, especially if you're new to whatever it is that you're doing. Secondly, I take note of what comes up when I watch these creators. You'd be surprised at how they tickle the edges of your values and what's important to you. Like, for example, there are certain creators who remind me that I'm allowed to have my humor shine, that it's safe to be funny. Others show me that there's nothing wrong with being bold with opinions, that I don't have to hold back for the fear of backlash or feeling like, oh no, no one likes me. Someone else may remind me that I don't have to spout out a million words to be heard, that sparsity can be powerful. When I name what I'm resisting, then I can enter without fear, or at least a greater understanding. And thirdly, I don't let discomfort define me, but get me into action. So either I choose to wallow in it and feel sorry for myself, or I can do something. I'm not going to be like the creators I mentioned, and that's not the point. I can only make videos, take photos, write, and show up in the way that is distinctly Paul, distinctly me. And it may be rough, verbose, awkward, unfocused, and whatnot, but I'm showing up. That's what I'm doing. And that's the key. Keep showing up no matter what. You see, at the core of this all for me is that creative envy I may feel at first is really just a desperate cry to be free. I see these content creators express a level of freedom that my soul just craves. I see them in their honest, true, unshackled selves, and I want that so much for myself. We all want that for ourselves. And I admire that they've allowed themselves to shine in their way, because in some ways, I still fear my own light. And the funny thing for most of us is that we are the ones who put the boundaries and limits on who we are and what we can create. We draw the shades on the sunlight of the spirit that flows through us. No one else. We do it. At least I do it. And it's not that I want to be those creators, but I want to be me with the same level of freedom that they allow themselves. Like, how cool is that? And it's not easy when you've been told that doing so will bring you pain, that being yourself is painful. We all have a story we tell ourselves in our dimming ourselves of our light. And so it's time to recreate our stories, redefine them, create new beliefs, and show up in the way that we're meant to show up. So, if you're finding yourself getting snared up in the comparison game or spiraling into shame, just remember that any envy you might feel might be a sign that your soul wants to come out and play. That someone else's excellence isn't proof of your failure, but a marker of what's possible. It's an indication that you're holding back in some way, and that fear and ego will want to keep you apart rather than a part of something greater, of tapping into that wellspring of your own genius. And that's the point of this. You will most be seen when you see yourself first. And the more you do that, the more that resistance fades away as you see others for who they are, knowing that they add to this marvelous tapestry of life and don't take away from your own creative soul and contributions. It's a world of abundance. I mean, remember, like, we're all mirrors to one another. And who knows, maybe what you're doing right now might be triggering someone else to do their own inner work on this kind of thing. Sort of I see like a double rainbow effect. Like how amazing is that? Your next breakthrough is hiding inside the thing you're most scared to admit you want. So keep showing up. If I can do it, so can you. I'm recording this as part of that action. Anyway, I'd love to hear from you. What's one creator you admire but feel a bit uncomfortable, a little sticky watching? Tag them, write it down, or just sit with it. That discomfort might just be your compass, your North Star. And if this has helped you in any way, this little video of mine, please share, like, comment, all the other things. You know the drill. This isn't like your first YouTube video. Come on. Thank you for being here. This has been Creative Alchemist. Be kind to yourself. Ciao.